It's late again. The kind of late where the silence in my tiny apartment feels louder than the city outside. I'm sitting at the kitchen table, a half-empty cup of instant coffee growing cold beside my laptop screen. The glow barely reaches the scattered bills I've been avoiding all week. Rent, utilities, credit card statements, each one a reminder that the numbers on my paycheck are just decimals, shadows compared to what life demands. I'm 27, working 2 jobs, and still, it never seems to be enough. Sometimes I wonder if it ever will be. Every day feels like a slow, grinding battle. When I wake up at 6 a.m., it's not because I'm excited to start the day, but because I have to. There's no room for rest in my budget or my mind. The economy isn't just something on the news, it's the weight pressing down on me as I decide whether to buy groceries or refill my prescription. It's the reason I skipped lunch last Thursday, eating a handful of cheap crackers so I could save a few bucks for the bus fare home. I live in a city where the cost of living has outpaced any raise I've had in years, and it feels like a trap tightening around me. It's exhausting. Financial pressure isn't just math, it's an emotional storm. You get used to anxiety as a background hum, like a radio you can never quite turn off. The phone rings sometimes, usually a creditor or an automated message reminding me I'm behind on payments. Each call is a pit growing in my stomach, a reminder of failure, even though I'm trying. I've gotten creative, picking up extra shifts, selling stuff I don't need, cutting every unnecessary expense to the bone. Still, it's a fight to keep my head above water. The hardest part is the feeling of invisibility. Nobody sees the small crises behind my smile at work or the exhaustion hidden in my eyes. Friends talk about buying cars, going on trips, even just ordering dinner out, and I nod along, pretending those things aren't miles away from my reality. The social media posts don't help, everyone's life looks so put together, so effortless. But behind those pictures, I know there's stress too. I just wish someone understood how raw and constant mine feels. Sometimes I lie awake and think about what I wanted when I was younger. I dreamed of a small apartment of my own, not this cramped place where the walls feel like they're closing in. I dreamed of travel, of seeing the world outside this city. I dreamed of stability, of being able to afford the little joys without guilt. But those dreams feel distant now, almost indulgent. The reality is that money flows through my hands like water, always just out of reach, never enough to build anything lasting. There are days when the pressure makes me feel invisible, like I'm a cog in a machine that only works if I keep moving and never complain. The bills pile up, the rent increases, prices rise, but my paycheck stays the same. I'm trapped in this cycle where expenses grow faster than income, and it feels like a trap without an exit. Sometimes I catch myself thinking, if only I could catch a break, just one. But breaks don't come when you're drowning in debt and juggling survival. Coping is its own challenge. I've learned to celebrate small victories, a shift that goes well, a night without worrying about a call from collections. I try to keep hope alive by daydreaming in the quiet moments, letting myself imagine a life where I'm not just scraping by. I talk to close friends about money, which is hard, because vulnerability around finances is like showing a hidden wound. But it helps to know I'm not alone. At night, when the city hum quiets down and the world feels far away, I remind myself that this is a chapter, not the whole story. Maybe someday I'll find a way out of this maze. Maybe I'll have a steady job with a living wage, a home that feels like mine, and the freedom to dream without the cloud of constant money stress. Until then, I keep going, one paycheck, one day, one breath at a time. Financial pressure is more than just numbers on paper, it's a shadow that touches everything, from my decisions to my dreams, from my heart to my hope. And though it weighs heavy, I hold on to the fragile belief that it doesn't define me. I am more than debt, more than bills, more than this endless cycle. Someday, I hope to live that truth out loud. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. It helps the content grow and motivates me to create even more great videos. Turn on notifications so you don't miss any new uploads. By the way, I'm curious, when do you usually watch my videos? While working, studying, or just relaxing at home? Let me know in the comments, I'd love to hear from you. Thank you for your support. I wake up every morning with a heaviness I can't shake, a weight that's not just physical but mental, emotional, and financial. It's like the moment my eyes open, the pressure of money creeps in, squeezing tight around my chest. I'm 27 years old, and instead of feeling like I'm building a future, I feel stuck, watching expenses climb higher and higher while my income stays the same, or barely inches forward. The cost of living feels like it's running on a fast-forward track, and I'm running in slow motion. Rent, utilities, groceries, transportation, every single bill keeps rising. Yet my paycheck, no matter how many hours I log or how many extra shifts I pick up, doesn't keep pace. It's a frustrating and demoralizing cycle. Sometimes I wonder if I'm missing something, or if I'm just not trying hard enough, but deep down I know the truth: the system is stacked against people like me. I'm trapped in this economic squeeze, and it colors every decision I make. Even the smallest choices become calculated risks. Do I buy groceries this week or pay an overdue utility bill? Should I use my car to go to a friend's birthday, or skip it because the gas money isn't there? Can I afford a doctor's appointment if I get sick, or do I hope the cold goes away on its own? These questions aren't hypothetical, they're my daily reality. The constant stress has worn me down in ways I didn't expect. It's exhausting, like I'm carrying a load that never gets lighter no matter how much I rest or try to catch up. Anxiety settles in like a shadow, whispering fears about what happens if I lose my job or an emergency hits. Sleep doesn't come easy when my mind is spinning with worries about money, about debt, about the future. It's hard to feel hopeful when every day feels like survival. When I graduated college, I had dreams, big ones. I imagined getting a decent job that would let me live independently, save a little, maybe travel, or even start planning for a home of my own someday. I thought education was a ticket out. But here I am, juggling multiple part-time jobs just to cover basics, and those dreams feel distant, sometimes even impossible. I've put off going back to school for a master's degree because I can't afford it. I've delayed getting healthcare because the copays add up too much. I don't buy new clothes or go out for fun, because those luxuries don't exist on my budget. I cope the best way I can. I've learned to live with less, to find small joys that don't cost anything: a walk in the park, listening to podcasts, cooking cheap meals that stretch leftovers. I lean on close friends who understand without judgment, though sometimes I hide the full truth of my struggles because I don't want to be a burden or seem like a failure. I journal sometimes, letting out the frustration and sadness on paper because I can't always say it out loud. Those moments help me breathe, if only for a little while. The thing is, this isn't just my problem. It's a reality for so many young people today, caught in an economy where wages are stagnant, but rent and bills are climbing relentlessly. We're told to work hard and be responsible, but when the system's rules are stacked against us, hard work isn't always enough. I feel overlooked and invisible, like the daily grind of making ends meet isn't worthy of attention or sympathy. I wish I could tell my younger self that it's okay to struggle, that being trapped in this financial pressure isn't a reflection of my worth. I wish I could say it's okay to ask for help, to be honest about how hard it is. But I also want to hold on to hope that someday, the numbers will finally add up differently, that I'll wake up without that heavy weight pressing on my chest. For now, I keep going. I keep trying to balance the impossible. Because despite everything, I still dream of a future where I'm not just surviving, but living. A future where I can breathe a little easier, where the pressure isn't constant, and where the dreams I've postponed can finally come true. Until then, this is my story, a young adult trying to find light in a world that feels determined to keep me in the dark. Sometimes I wonder how I ended up here, working every hour I can, scraping together what feels like pennies, and still staring at a bank balance that barely moves. I'm 26, and this pressure, this constant, gnawing worry about money, has been the backdrop to nearly every day of my adult life. It's not just about paying bills, it's about how the world around me seems to be speeding up, prices rising, and my paycheck staying stubbornly the same. I remember when I graduated college, full of hope and plans. I wanted to travel, maybe live in a city for a bit, meet new people, build a career, and one day own a place of my own. But reality hit fast. Rent alone devours a huge part of my income, and the cost of groceries, gas, healthcare, and the little things add up quickly. Every time I think I've figured out a budget, prices go up. The electric bill climbs, the grocery store shelves get more expensive, and suddenly my carefully planned paycheck looks like a map with no safe places left. This feeling of being trapped is suffocating. It's like running on a treadmill that keeps accelerating. No matter how fast I run, I'm not moving forward. The system feels stacked against me. Expenses grow faster than my income, and while I try to cut corners, it's never enough. I skip dinners with friends, saying no more than I want to, because socializing means spending. I drive less to save on gas, but it isolates me. I second-guess every decision. Do I buy the cheaper brand, or the healthier one? Do I pay off the credit card, or save for a future I can't even imagine? The emotional toll is heavier than I expected. Some days, I wake up exhausted not from physical work, but from the mental load of financial stress. It's a constant background noise in my mind, like a low hum of anxiety I can't switch off. I hide it well. I don't want people to see me as weak or incapable. I convince myself that everyone's struggling, and if I admit how hard it really is, I'll be judged. But inside, the loneliness creeps in. I want to talk about it, but words get caught in my throat because how do you explain a pressure that feels so invisible but so real? Coping means a mix of small acts of survival. I meal prep with whatever's on sale, I hunt for discounts like they're treasure, and I work a side gig whenever I can squeeze in time. I remind myself that these sacrifices are temporary, even when I can't see the end of the tunnel. I cling to routines that give me a little stability, a walk in the park, a chat with a close friend, or simply watching a favorite show after a long day. These moments keep me from drowning in despair. But there are dreams I've had to set aside: travel, higher education, a cozy home where I could decorate and feel secure. Even something as simple as buying new clothes or a decent laptop feels like a luxury. I postpone medical appointments, delay upgrading my skills, and I put off thinking about retirement because right now, just surviving is the priority. Sometimes I catch myself envying those who don't have to think twice about such things, and that sting is hard to shake. Still, hope persists. It's fragile and sometimes buried deep, but it's there. I hold on to the belief that if I keep pushing, keep adjusting, maybe I'll find a way to break out of this cycle. That one day, expenses won't feel like a storm I'm weathering alone. That I can live without the constant fear of the next unexpected bill ruining my month. Maybe I'll even get to reclaim some of the dreams I've shelved. This story isn't just about financial numbers. It's about the weight of invisible struggles, the daily choices that define how we live and feel, and the quiet resilience it takes to keep going. I'm still here, still trying to find a path through a system that feels designed to hold me down. And maybe, just maybe, telling this story will remind me, and anyone who hears it, that none of us are truly alone in this fight. Because beneath the numbers and budgets, there's a person hoping for a better tomorrow. I wake up every morning with this familiar tightness in my chest. It's like a weight pressing down, the kind that never really goes away. It's not about one thing, it's everything, all at once. Rent, groceries, student loans, the rising gas prices, the creeping cost of basic stuff like toothpaste and coffee. Every day, it feels like I'm fighting just to keep my head above water, but the water keeps rising faster than I can swim. I'm 27 now, living in a city where the skyline looks like a promise, glass towers gleaming with opportunity. But for me, the reality is this cramped apartment that's barely affordable, a job that pays the bills but never enough to breathe easy, and a calendar filled with reminders of bills due, deadlines, and warnings from my bank. I didn't always imagine life like this. Growing up, I had dreams, big ones. I wanted to travel, maybe study abroad, find a career that didn't feel like a daily grind. I wanted to save, buy a place of my own someday, even think about starting a family. But those dreams feel distant now, like stars I'm watching from behind thick clouds. Every morning, I budget in my head before I even get out of bed. What can I afford today? Do I skip the coffee? Can I take the bus instead of an Uber? Should I eat leftovers or buy something quick and cheap? It's exhausting. I find myself counting pennies and recalculating every decision, feeling like I'm walking a tightrope with no safety net. The economic environment around me doesn't help. Inflation is a phrase I hear on the news but didn't fully grasp until I went shopping and saw how prices had jumped overnight. Utilities, rent, gas, they all climb steadily, like invisible fingers tightening a noose around my budget. Meanwhile, my paycheck stays stubbornly the same, or if I'm lucky, gets a tiny raise that barely covers one utility bill increase. I feel trapped in a system that seems designed to keep people like me locked in place. I work hard, put in long hours, sometimes 2 jobs, and yet the gap between my income and expenses keeps widening. It's frustrating and humiliating in a way that's hard to explain. You tell yourself you're doing your best, but it never feels like enough. The emotional toll is real. Some days, I feel defeated before the sun's even risen. Anxiety gnaws at me. What if I lose this job? What if a medical emergency hits? What if I have to move again because rent goes up? The uncertainty is constant, and it's exhausting. I catch myself snapping at friends or feeling isolated because I can't join in on outings or trips. I feel guilty for saying no. I feel small. But I'm trying to cope. I lean on the little things that don't cost much: walks in the park, evenings spent reading or journaling, calls with friends who understand without judgment. I try to remind myself that this isn't permanent, even if it feels endless. Sometimes I lose hope, but I hold on to it stubbornly, hope that things will get better, that I'll find a way out of this cycle. I've had to postpone so many things: saving for a home, pursuing further education, even taking a vacation to recharge. I watch my peers buying cars, getting engaged, moving into bigger places, and I wonder if I'm falling behind or if the system is just unfair. Sometimes the pressure is so overwhelming that I question my own worth. But deep down, I know I'm not lazy or irresponsible. I'm just caught in an economic tide that's pulling me under. Looking ahead, I still dream, quietly and carefully. I dream of stability, of financial freedom, of waking up without that tightness in my chest. I dream of a life where money isn't the constant shadow, where I can plan for the future without fear. And while those dreams feel fragile now, they keep me going. This is my reality, a balancing act of stress and small joys, of resilience and vulnerability. I don't have all the answers, but I'm here, navigating the pressure day by day, hoping for a break in the clouds, believing that one day, the weight will lift. Because sometimes, hope is the only thing that keeps you afloat. I never imagined adulthood would feel like this, a constant balancing act on a wire fraying at the edges, where every step forward seems to come with 2 steps back. Some mornings, I wake up with a pit in my stomach, knowing that my paycheck won't stretch as far as it used to, but I still have rent, groceries, and bills waiting to swallow it whole. The news talks about economic recovery, job growth, inflation easing, but none of that filters down to my life. It feels like I'm stuck in a loop where the cost of living races ahead, and my income barely manages to stay in place, gasping for air. The pressure has been mounting for years, but the past couple of years have been especially brutal. Rent in my city has shot up relentlessly. What used to be a modest 1-bedroom now costs more than I make after taxes. I moved into a small shared apartment with 2 roommates to survive, yet the monthly share of rent and utilities still consumes half my take-home pay. Every time I open a bill, it's like a cold slap reminding me that no matter how hard I work, the system isn't designed for someone like me to get ahead. My job isn't bad, it pays decently, stable hours, benefits, but it's not a career with a clear path to wealth. I've tried to pick up side gigs, freelance work, but the energy to hustle 2 or 3 jobs on top of everything else is draining. Some nights I lie awake, calculating if it's even worth the exhaustion. The truth is, the money I make from those extra hours barely covers the extra costs of transportation, food, or healthcare that come with working more. I used to dream big. I wanted to travel, to move to a city where I could build a life that felt vibrant and free. I imagined owning a small place to call my own, maybe getting a dog, and taking weekend trips without worrying about how much I'd have to tighten my belt. But those dreams feel like distant echoes now, voices I've had to quiet to survive. Each day, I feel trapped between necessity and aspiration. On the surface, I try to keep it together, dressing neatly for work, smiling when I talk to friends, scrolling social media and seeing people who seem to live effortlessly, going out for dinners, vacations, and buying things I can't afford. Inside, though, there's this gnawing anxiety, a slow-burning frustration. It's humiliating sometimes, the way money dictates every choice, what I eat, where I go, who I see. Declining a night out because of the price feels like admitting defeat. Explaining to family why I can't chip in for events feels isolating. I'm often overwhelmed by a sense of failure, even though I'm doing everything I can. Food shopping, for example, has become a game of strategy. I buy in bulk, clip coupons obsessively, and make meals that can stretch into multiple days. I avoid anything extra, coffee out, snacks, new clothes, and it hurts. There's a quiet loneliness in missing out on those little pleasures that make life enjoyable. Even a simple coffee with a friend can turn into a source of stress. Should I accept the invite and risk blowing my budget, or say no and feel left out? And then there's the emotional toll. Chronic financial stress weighs heavily on my mental health. I find myself waking up in the middle of the night, heart racing, thoughts spiraling about what would happen if I lost my job or got sick. I sometimes feel a shame so deep that I avoid reaching out for help, worried about being judged or seen as incapable. I push myself to be strong, but the truth is, it's exhausting. I've seen my friends move ahead, buying cars, getting married, starting families, while I'm still trying to figure out how to pay off a modest credit card balance or scrape together a few $100s for emergencies. There are days when the weight of it all makes me question my own worth. What am I doing wrong? Why isn't hard work enough? The system feels rigged against people like me, young adults caught between stagnant wages and rising costs, with few safety nets and even fewer opportunities. I feel invisible in a society that praises hustle but offers no real support for those struggling to keep their heads above water. Yet, amidst all this, I hold on to small acts of hope. I keep a journal where I jot down ideas for the future, a new career path, ways to save more, skills I want to learn. I try to remind myself that this pressure cooker won't last forever, that change is possible. Some days, I find pockets of joy in simple things, a walk in the park, a deep conversation with a friend, a good book borrowed from the library. I'm learning to be kinder to myself, recognizing that surviving this is an achievement in itself. I'm figuring out how to say no without guilt and to ask for help when I need it. I'm starting to envision a future where my worth isn't measured by my bank account but by my resilience and growth. Still, it's hard not to feel like I'm living on borrowed time, postponing dreams indefinitely. The fear of being stuck, financially, emotionally, socially, looms over every decision. Sometimes I wonder if I'll ever feel truly free. But for now, I take it one day at a time, holding on to the hope that the system might one day bend in favor of people like me, that I might find a way to breathe easier, to live fuller, and to finally chase those dreams again without the shadow of financial strain clouding my every move. Until then, I keep going, because giving up isn't an option. Not yet. I never thought I'd be writing a story like this, a story about money, about struggle, about the kind of pressure that doesn't just weigh on your wallet but seeps into your very soul. I'm 28 years old, and for as long as I can remember, financial stress has been this persistent shadow following me around. It's not a sudden crisis or a one-time event, it's a slow, grinding reality that shapes every choice I make, every hope I hold on to, and every fear that keeps me awake at night. Growing up, I was taught that if I worked hard and stayed responsible, I'd be okay. Go to school, get a decent job, and build a life. But somewhere along the way, the rules changed, or maybe they never applied to people like me. The economy has shifted beneath my feet faster than I can keep up. Rent keeps climbing, groceries cost more, bills stack higher, and yet my paycheck barely stretches. It's like running on a treadmill that speeds up every month, and no matter how fast I move, I'm stuck in the same spot. This system, this endless loop of expenses growing faster than income, feels like a trap. It's not just about dollars and cents, it's about feeling powerless. I watch prices go up on things I can't cut back on: rent, utilities, insurance. My income, on the other hand, feels frozen, or worse, slipping behind. That gap widens, and suddenly I'm juggling which bills get paid on time and which get pushed off until later. That later never really comes. Everyday decisions become a form of budgeting my breath. Do I turn off the heater and wear layers, or keep it on and risk next month's overdue notices? Should I take the bus and spend an hour commuting, or drive and pay more for gas but save time? Can I afford to say yes to a friend's invitation, or do I have to say no because I'm counting every dollar? Even food becomes a strategic choice: buy fresh, expensive produce and stretch my funds thin, or rely on cheap, processed meals that aren't great for my health but keep me fed. Emotionally, it's a roller coaster I didn't sign up for. There are days when I feel overwhelmed, anxious, and defeated, like I'm failing some invisible test I never got to study for. Sleep is elusive, my mind spinning through worries about rent, medical bills, emergencies, and what happens if something unexpected breaks or comes up. I feel embarrassed sometimes, even ashamed, like I should be able to figure it out by now, even though I know logically this isn't about personal failure. I've had to postpone so many dreams because of money. Going back to school for the career upgrade I wanted. Saving for a place of my own. Traveling, experiencing new things, or even just having a cushion in the bank for peace of mind. These aren't just luxuries, they're hopes for a life beyond constant struggle. But each time I think about putting money aside for these things, I have to push those thoughts down, remind myself that paying next month's rent is priority one. How do I cope? I try to find balance in the small things. I've become an expert at stretching groceries, meal planning, and hunting for discounts. I lean heavily on a close circle of friends who understand the reality without judgment. Sometimes I write, not just to vent but to remind myself that I'm not alone in this. I seek moments of joy that don't cost anything: a walk in the park, a deep breath of fresh air, a call with someone who listens. It's not perfect, but it's enough to keep going. I want to be honest about this because I know I'm not the only one feeling trapped. The economic system feels rigged, like it's set up to keep people like me in place, working hard, paying bills, but never quite moving forward. It's a daily grind that chips away at hope and energy, but I still have dreams. I still believe there can be a future where I don't have to choose between essentials or where I wake up without that heavy weight pressing down. So here I am, sharing this story, a truth about living in a world where expenses outpace income, where financial pressure shapes your days and nights. It's raw, it's vulnerable, and it's real. And maybe, just maybe, by telling it, I remind myself and others that we deserve better, that this struggle isn't the end of our story. I'm 27, and I feel like I'm stuck. Not just stuck in a job or a routine, but trapped in a system that's moving faster than I can keep up with. Every month, I watch my paycheck disappear before I've even fully realized it's there. Rent goes up again, groceries get pricier, and somehow, my income barely budges. It's like running on a treadmill that's speeding up. No matter how hard I try, I'm not moving forward. When I graduated, I thought life would be different. I had plans: travel, save, maybe buy a small place someday, build a career that felt meaningful. But reality hit hard. The economic landscape is unforgiving. Inflation doesn't just sound like a word in the news, it lives in my bank account, in the rising cost of everything I need to survive. Housing feels like a luxury now. The neighborhood I dreamed of moving into is out of reach. Even the basics: food, transportation, healthcare, keep eating up a larger slice of my limited income. Every decision feels like a balancing act on a wire stretched thin. Should I cook at home to save money or accept an invitation to a friend's birthday dinner and risk going over budget? Do I fix my old phone or save that money for the electric bill? Each choice carries weight. It's exhausting. The mental load is heavy, and sometimes I find myself frozen, stuck between options, afraid to make the wrong choice because the consequences are real and immediate. There's an emotional toll, too. The constant stress, the worry gnaws at my self-esteem. I feel like I'm failing, even though I know logically that this is a systemic problem, not a personal one. Still, the isolation sets in. It's hard to explain this pressure to people who might not understand or who are managing their own struggles differently. I don't want to burden friends or family, so I bottle it up, and it eats away at me in quiet moments when I'm alone. I cope in small ways. I've learned to live on tight budgets, clipping coupons, hunting sales, and cooking meals that stretch ingredients as far as possible. I work overtime when I can, juggling multiple jobs, but exhaustion creeps in. I've become careful about what I share socially because socializing costs money I often don't have. Sometimes I skip nights out, not because I don't want to be with friends, but because the reality of expenses wins over my desire for connection. There are dreams I've had to postpone, some indefinitely. The trip I wanted to take with my partner, the career course I hoped to enroll in to gain new skills, the move to a new city for fresh opportunities, all feel like distant luxuries rather than achievable goals. Even the thought of buying a car or saving for a home seems laughably out of reach. It's a cruel kind of hope, the hope that if I just work a little harder or make the right sacrifices, things will get better, only to realize that the playing field is uneven and I'm running uphill against forces much bigger than me. But beneath all the frustration and fear, I hold on to a fragile hope. I remind myself that this isn't forever. That somehow, through grit, resilience, and a little luck, there's a way out. Maybe it's finding a job with better pay, or finally catching a break that allows me to breathe again. Maybe it's a systemic change that makes living costs more manageable for people like me. I tell this story not just for myself, but for anyone else who feels this pressure, who wakes up every day trying to navigate a world where expenses grow faster than income and dreams get pushed aside. We're not alone, even if it feels that way. Our struggles are real, valid, and shared by many. And in sharing, maybe we can find a little more strength, a little more understanding, and maybe even a glimpse of hope for a better tomorrow. Because beneath the numbers and budgets, beneath the stress and postponed dreams, there's a person who still believes in a future where they can breathe, live fully, and finally feel free. It's a strange kind of exhaustion, the kind that settles deep into your bones when you wake up every morning knowing that the pile of bills on your kitchen counter isn't going anywhere. I'm 27 now, and for the past few years, it's felt like I've been running on a hamster wheel. No matter how fast I move, I'm stuck in place, watching everything around me get just a little more out of reach. The rent keeps going up, the price of groceries climbs steadily, and my paycheck, well, it barely budges. I remember when I first moved out on my own, full of hope and a bit of naivety. I thought, I'll just work hard, save a little, and things will fall into place. But life had other plans. The economy shifted while I wasn't paying attention, or maybe I was, but I just didn't understand how tightly it would squeeze me. Each month feels like a puzzle I'm trying to solve with fewer and fewer pieces. When I wake up, I have a mental checklist: rent, utilities, food, transportation, phone bill, student loans. I start the day knowing some things won't get paid fully or on time, but I have to choose which ones. Skipping a phone payment is tempting because it feels less urgent than rent, but then I risk losing connection to job opportunities or support networks. Skipping groceries? Impossible, I need to eat. But that means buying the cheapest, least nutritious options, and my body knows it. There's no real free time anymore. Even when I'm not working, my mind is spinning with calculations. Can I afford to meet friends for coffee? Should I just stay home and save? What if my car breaks down? The last thing I want is an unexpected expense, but life rarely cooperates. I can't remember the last time I bought something just for myself. Clothes, gadgets, hobbies, they all feel like luxuries, not essentials. Some days, I wonder if I'm the only one feeling this way. Everyone seems to be keeping up appearances, on social media, at least. They post pictures of vacations, new outfits, fancy meals. Meanwhile, I'm sitting on the couch in hand-me-down jeans, scrolling through Instagram with a mix of envy and frustration. I know it's a highlight reel, but it still stings. It's hard not to internalize that I'm failing somehow, even though I'm just trying to survive. The emotional weight of this pressure is heavy. It's a constant hum of anxiety that never really switches off. I try to hide it from my family, but sometimes I break down in front of my roommate or close friends. I tell them I'm scared, scared of falling behind, scared of never catching up, scared that one day I'll have nothing left to give. I feel guilty because I know people have it worse, and yet, my own struggles feel massive and all-consuming. I cope the best I can. I've become a master of budgeting, clipping coupons, and hunting for deals. I meal prep every week to avoid the temptation of takeout. I take long walks instead of going to the gym or doing anything that costs money. I look for free events in the city, places where I can still feel a little human without opening my wallet. I journal sometimes, writing down what I'm grateful for to remind myself there's still good in the world. But deep down, I know these are just band-aids. The system feels rigged against people like me, people who work hard but never seem to get ahead. I've watched friends move back home or take on second jobs just to keep their heads above water. Some days, I feel like a cog in a giant machine, endlessly turning, never breaking free. Dreams? They're still there, but they've been pushed back, postponed indefinitely. I wanted to travel, to see the world beyond this small town. I wanted to save for a down payment on a place that I could call mine, where I wouldn't be scared of rent hikes. I dreamed of going back to school, maybe changing careers to something more fulfilling and sustainable. But every dollar I earn gets swallowed up by immediate needs, and those dreams feel like distant stars, beautiful, but impossible to reach. Sometimes, late at night, I imagine what it would be like if things were different. If I could breathe without the constant pressure, if I could plan for the future instead of just surviving the present. I wonder if I'll ever feel truly free. The truth is, I don't know. But I hold on to a sliver of hope, because without it, the weight would crush me. So, I keep moving forward. I take it one day at a time, trying to find moments of light in the gray routine. I remind myself that this isn't my forever, even if it feels like it now. And maybe, just maybe, one day I'll look back at this time and see how strong I was for surviving it. For now, though, I'm here, trapped in this endless cycle but still breathing, still hoping, still trying. And that has to be enough. Hey, friends! If you enjoy this content, don't forget to like the video and share your thoughts in the comments. We really want to know what you like and what can be improved. What do you think of the video? Are there any topics you'd like to see in future videos? Your feedback really helps us get better. Thanks for being with us. I never thought I'd find myself here, stuck in a place where every day feels like a slow battle against invisible forces, where the cost of living climbs relentlessly, and my paycheck barely moves. I'm 27, working 2 jobs most weeks, and yet, somehow, it never seems to be enough. It's like running on a treadmill that's speeding up while my legs get heavier. Growing up, I imagined my 20s would be a time of freedom, travel, new experiences, maybe even starting to save for a home or something real. But here I am, constantly juggling bills, rationing groceries, and praying my car doesn't break down because that would be the end of everything. I live in a small apartment that barely fits my stuff, and sometimes I wonder if it's really mine or just a temporary stop on a path I can't see clearly. The economy feels like this giant wave I'm trying to swim against. Rent prices have surged in my city, and utilities aren't far behind. Every month, I budget as carefully as I can, cutting out anything unnecessary, coffee runs, nights out, even doctor visits. When my phone died last month, I used a flip phone from years ago to save the upgrade fee. It's exhausting. I feel like I'm constantly subtracting from my life to pay for the basics. Work used to feel like a path to something better. I have a degree, and for a while, I thought it would open doors. But the jobs available to me barely pay enough to cover rent, much less start saving for the future. The cost of everything, gas, groceries, even clothes, keeps climbing, but wages stay stagnant. It's frustrating, demoralizing, and sometimes I catch myself spiraling into hopelessness. I've had to put off so many dreams. I wanted to travel after graduation, see new places, meet new people. Instead, I work double shifts just to keep up. I postponed thinking about buying a car, starting a family, or even moving somewhere bigger and nicer. The future feels like this distant, blurry thing that I'm supposed to reach but never quite do. Sometimes I wonder if it's fair to keep pushing forward when the weight of the present is so heavy. The emotional toll is just as real as the financial one. I lie awake at night worrying about bills, about unexpected expenses, about the possibility of losing my job. Anxiety and stress have become constant companions. There are days when I feel like giving up, when I think maybe I'm not cut out for this. But then I remind myself of why I'm doing it, for the small moments of peace, for the hope that one day I'll breathe easier. I cope in whatever ways I can. I talk to friends who understand, even if they can't fix the situation. I find small joys, like watching a sunset, reading a good book borrowed from the library, or cooking a meal from scratch. Those moments remind me there's more to life than numbers and deadlines. But they're fleeting, and I often feel isolated, as if no one truly sees how hard this is. It's hard to explain the feeling of being trapped. Like you're in a race where the finish line keeps moving further away, no matter how fast you run. Every step forward is met with 2 steps back, as expenses rise and income stays the same. It's a slow erosion of hope and energy. You start questioning yourself, am I not working hard enough? Am I making the wrong choices? But deep down, I know it's not about me. It's about a system that makes it almost impossible for people like me to get ahead. I want so much more than this daily grind. I want to save for a home, to travel, to feel secure in my job and my finances. I want to stop worrying about money just to survive. I want to dream again, not just about what I have to do, but about what I could do if the weight were lifted. Until then, I keep going. I keep pushing, even when it feels like the whole world is against me. Because what else can I do? Giving up isn't an option, not yet. Maybe one day, the system will change, or maybe I'll find a way through. But for now, this is my reality, honest, vulnerable, and hard. And I'm still here. It's late, again. I sit here with my laptop open, scrolling through spreadsheets I don't want to see but have to. Bills, rent, groceries, phone, internet, gas. They all add up faster than I can handle. Every month, I tell myself this is the last time I'm scrambling like this. But it's not. The numbers never add up the way I want. The truth is, I feel trapped. I'm 26. I work 2 jobs, one full-time, one part-time, to keep the lights on and food on the table. I thought after college, things would settle down. I pictured a steady paycheck, maybe even saving for something bigger than just the next month. But the reality is harsh. Inflation is this invisible thief that steals a little bit more every day. Rent shot up again this year. My wage? Stuck the same. I hear about people making progress, buying homes, starting families, but for me, it's just survival. That's how it feels most days, barely surviving. Every decision I make feels weighted by money. I remember last week, standing in the grocery store with a basket half full, calculating how many things I could realistically afford. Do I choose fresh vegetables or buy the cheaper canned ones? Should I get the brand I like or settle for something that's almost the same but costs less? These are decisions that number 26-year-olds should have to agonize over, but here I am, making compromises on the basics. Even social life becomes a balancing act. Invitations come, and I want to say yes, I want to see my friends, to laugh, to feel normal. But there's always the underlying question, can I afford it? Is this night out worth the stretch on my budget? Sometimes I say no, even when my heart says yes, because the reality is, spending money means going without something else. A bus ticket home, a phone bill, a meal. The constant financial pressure gnaws at my emotional well-being. Some nights, I lie awake worrying, not just about the money, but about what this means for my future. I feel like I'm stuck in a loop where expenses grow faster than my income. Every time I get a little ahead, an unexpected bill pulls me back. It's exhausting. The anxiety is always there, this low hum at the back of my mind, making it hard to relax or even dream. I try to cope the best I can. I've learned to budget religiously, track every dollar. I cook meals from scratch, cut out subscriptions, and skip on things like new clothes or going to the movies. I pick up extra shifts when I can, even if it means less sleep and more stress. I've started selling some of my old stuff online, small things that add up. These little hacks help, but they're just band-aids on a bigger problem. And then there are the dreams I've had to put on hold. Traveling abroad, like I always wanted, feels impossible. The idea of buying a home, even a modest one, is a distant fantasy. I thought about going back to school, upgrading my skills, but tuition and living expenses are beyond reach. I see people around me moving forward in their careers and lives, and sometimes it feels like I'm invisible, stuck in a holding pattern with no clear way out. I wish I could explain this feeling better, the weight of it, the frustration, the sadness. It's not just about money. It's about feeling powerless in a system that seems designed to keep people like me from getting ahead. It's knowing that no matter how hard I work, the costs will always chase me down. It's postponing hope itself because hope feels like a luxury when you're just trying to get through today. But despite all this, I keep going. Because what else can I do? I hold on to small moments of joy, calling a friend, watching the sunset, reading a good book. I remind myself that this is not who I am, just a part of the story. And maybe someday, things will change. Maybe the system will change. Maybe I'll find a way to breathe without counting every cent. Until then, I'm here, navigating the impossible, one day at a time, hoping that my story isn't just about survival, but about resilience, and eventually, hope. I never thought I'd feel so stuck in my own life, like I'm running on a treadmill that's speeding up just when I'm about to catch my breath. It's hard to explain unless you're living it, the constant pinch of money slipping through your fingers no matter how hard you try to hold on. Every day feels like walking a tightrope made of bills, groceries, rent notices, and unexpected expenses, with no safety net in sight. I'm 27, living in a city that used to feel full of opportunity. But now, it feels like every corner I turn, the cost of living has jumped up again. Rent, utilities, food, everything's climbing faster than my paycheck. My job pays decently, but it hasn't increased in years. The pay raises I hear about? They're not for people like me, stuck in entry-level roles with no real promotion in sight. I work full-time, sometimes extra hours, but it's never enough to feel secure. There's always something new that drains the little extra money I manage to save. It's exhausting. Not just physically, but emotionally. Waking up every morning knowing I'll have to make tough decisions. Can I afford to fill my car's gas tank this week? Or, do I really need to buy that prescription, or can I wait until next month? It wears me down. I find myself apologizing to my friends when I can't join them out because there's no room in the budget for nights out, and even more so when they don't understand why I'm always declining. I want to be part of their lives, but money creates this invisible barrier. One of the hardest parts is feeling trapped in a system that's not built for people like me to thrive. It's like no matter how many steps I take forward, the ground beneath me keeps shifting. Expenses grow faster than my income, like some cruel game where I'm always losing points. I remember when I first moved out on my own, full of hope and dreams, I thought I'd save enough to travel, maybe start a small business, or even just have a little financial cushion. Now those dreams feel so distant, almost naive. Some days, the anxiety hits me in waves. I lie awake at night calculating every expense, wondering if I'll make rent on time, or if I'll have to eat instant noodles again because groceries got too expensive. I feel a knot of worry that tightens my chest and drains my energy. Sometimes I think about what it would be like to just give up, to stop fighting this uphill battle. But then I remind myself why I keep pushing. I want better for my future. I want freedom from these chains of financial pressure. Coping isn't easy. I've become a master of budgeting, clipping coupons, hunting for sales, and finding the cheapest options for everything. I've learned how to say no, which is hard when I'm a naturally social person. I try to focus on the small victories, like managing to pay off one credit card or saving a few dollars from each paycheck. But those wins often feel overshadowed by the constant struggle that follows. Sometimes, I retreat into quiet moments alone, just to gather myself. I journal, I meditate, or I take long walks to clear my head. It's during these moments I remind myself that my worth isn't tied to my bank account. But it's a daily battle to believe that when the world around you constantly measures success by money. I worry about the future. Will I ever be able to own a home? Will I be able to retire someday? Will I ever break free from this cycle? The pressure feels like it's building a cage around me, one where every financial decision is another bar keeping me locked in. Yet, despite it all, I hold on to hope. Hope that one day, things will balance out. That the economy will shift in a way that makes it possible for people like me to not just survive, but to live. I dream about the day when I can stop worrying about whether a flat tire will ruin my month, or when I can buy groceries without calculating every single item's price in my head. I want to travel, to explore places beyond the city limits. I want to create art again, something I've set aside because it felt like a luxury I couldn't afford. This ongoing pressure has changed me, made me more cautious, yes, but also more resilient in ways I never expected. I'm learning how to navigate this system with as much grace as I can muster, even when it feels unfair. I'm learning to find moments of joy and gratitude in small things, because sometimes that's all there is. To anyone reading this who feels the same way, you're not alone. It's okay to feel overwhelmed, to feel tired. But keep holding on to your dreams, no matter how far off they seem. Because in this messy, expensive, unpredictable world, that hope is the light that keeps us moving forward. End of story. I never thought I'd find myself here, staring at my bank balance like it's some impossible puzzle, wondering how on earth I'm supposed to make everything fit. It's not like I'm lazy or reckless. I work full-time, sometimes extra hours, but no matter what I do, the numbers just don't add up. The bills pile up faster than the paychecks come in. Rent, utilities, groceries, gas, student loans, and the random unexpected expenses that always seem to pop up. It's like running on a treadmill that keeps speeding up, and I'm just trying not to fall off. Some days, I wake up with a knot in my stomach, the kind of anxiety that starts even before the sun rises. I check my phone for any alerts, maybe a reminder for a payment due, maybe a notification about an overdraft fee I forgot to anticipate. My paycheck doesn't stretch like it used to, but expenses keep rising like some cruel joke. Grocery prices have jumped again. The rent increased last month. The utilities bill is higher because the weather's been unpredictable, and honestly, I can't even remember the last time I had a full night's sleep without waking up worried about money. This pressure isn't just financial, it's emotional, mental, and exhausting. It feels like I'm trapped in a system designed to keep me barely afloat. Every decision is a compromise. Should I fill up my gas tank this week or skip a grocery item? Should I keep the heat low to save on electricity, even though my apartment feels like a fridge? It's a constant balancing act, and sometimes, I just want to scream out loud, why is this so hard? I grew up hearing the classic advice, work hard, be responsible, and you'll get ahead. But what if working hard isn't enough? What if the world's economic gears are grinding in a way that just pushes people like me backward? I've tried side gigs, selling stuff I don't need, cutting back on anything that isn't essential, but the gap only seems to widen. It's demoralizing. I feel stuck, like I'm living someone else's version of adulthood where the rules are rigged. Friends talk about buying homes, planning vacations, even starting families. Meanwhile, I'm postponing dreams I once had, traveling abroad, taking a creative writing class, saving for a down payment on a place of my own. These aren't just luxuries, they're pieces of who I wanted to be. And now they feel like distant fantasies. Sometimes I catch myself daydreaming during slow moments at work, imagining what it would be like to wake up without that tight feeling of worry. To open the fridge and not question if I can afford to restock it soon. To answer my phone without dread. But then reality pulls me back, sharper than any alarm clock. The rising cost of living, the stagnant wages, the unpredictable expenses, all reminders that stability is more of a hope than a reality. I do my best to cope. I reach out to friends when I can, though I sometimes hide the full truth because I don't want to be a burden or sound like I'm complaining. I read online about budgeting hacks and ways to stretch a dollar. I try to remind myself that I'm not alone, even if it feels isolating. There's a strange comfort in knowing so many others are facing the same squeeze, the same exhausting dance. But there's also fear that this will never change, that the system is too broken to fix, and that I might never get out of this loop. It's hard to hold on to hope when every month feels like a struggle just to keep up. And yet, somehow, I do. Because what else can I do? Giving up isn't an option. So I keep going, day by day, sometimes barely, sometimes with a bit more strength. I remind myself that these struggles don't define me. They're part of a bigger story that I'm still writing. And maybe one day, the chapters ahead will include more than just survival. Maybe they'll have room for joy, for freedom, for the dreams I had to put on hold, but haven't forgotten. I never thought money would feel like a cage, but here I am, 26 years old, trapped inside it. Every month feels like a race I can't win, expenses climbing faster than I can earn, and me just trying to keep up without falling behind. It's like I'm in quicksand, sinking slowly no matter how hard I struggle. I grew up believing hard work pays off, that if you're responsible and careful, things will get better. But living through this economy has been a rude awakening. Rent went up again last month, just another $200 added to my bill. My paycheck stayed flat. The cost of groceries is up, utilities too, and even the little things, like my phone plan, keep creeping higher. Each increase is like a weight added to my shoulders, making it harder to breathe. I've become obsessed with budgets, not because I want to, but because I have to. I track every dollar like a hawk, counting calories in food and cents in coffee. Should I skip the extra coffee and make it at home? Yes. Can I even afford to keep my phone on a data plan? Barely. Choosing between heating the apartment or paying off a credit card balance feels like a twisted game, and no matter what I pick, I lose a little piece of peace. There's this gnawing feeling of being trapped in a system designed to keep me stuck. I work full-time, sometimes take on freelance gigs late into the night, and still the pile of bills grows. My income just doesn't stretch far enough to cover the essentials, let alone save. And inflation? It's like a shadow, darkening every corner of my life, making even basic needs feel luxurious. This pressure isn't just about money, it's about what that pressure does to my mind. Anxiety creeps in early every morning when I check my bank account, hoping to see more than enough to get through the month. It's exhausting, this constant worry that I'm always one paycheck away from disaster. Some nights I lie awake, heart racing, thinking about next month's rent, the overdue dentist appointment, the car that's making a funny noise again. The stress feels physical, tight in my chest, a weight on my shoulders. I've had to put so many dreams on hold. I wanted to go back to school, to get a degree that could lift me out of this rut, but tuition is just impossible. I've dreamed about moving somewhere bigger, somewhere safer, but even a slightly bigger apartment is out of reach. Buying a home feels like a fantasy for someone else, a story from a different life. I've shelved plans for vacations, for building an emergency fund, for investing in my future. It hurts, watching those dreams collect dust while the daily struggle demands all my focus. Coping feels like a mix of resignation and small acts of defiance. I find moments of joy in cheap pleasures, morning walks, a good book borrowed from the library, home-cooked meals instead of takeout. I talk to friends who understand, their struggles echo mine, and somehow that shared burden lightens the load. Writing has become a refuge too. Putting my story into words helps me feel less alone, less invisible. Still, beneath the exhaustion, I hold on to hope. I dream of a future where money isn't a chain around my neck, where I can breathe without counting every cent. I want to feel secure, to invest in myself, to build a life without constant fear. That hope is fragile, sometimes flickering, but it's there, fueling each day I keep going. This is my story, but it's not unique. It's the quiet reality for so many of us, young adults caught in an economic storm that feels impossible to outrun. Being honest about this struggle, sharing it openly, feels like the first step toward change. Because no one should have to give up their dreams just to survive. It's a strange thing, feeling like you're running in place. Like no matter how hard you move forward, the ground beneath you doesn't shift. I'm 28 now, working full-time in a job that pays just enough to keep the lights on and the fridge half full. But the truth is, I'm tired. Tired of the constant pressure that never seems to ease, tired of the anxiety that shadows every decision I make. I want to talk about it, the quiet, grinding weight of financial pressure that shapes everything in my life. Every morning I wake up and check my bank account. It's almost a ritual, like taking attendance. And every month, it's the same story, expenses rising faster than my paycheck. Rent has crept up again this year, grocery prices climbed, and even the utilities seem more expensive with every bill. Meanwhile, my income has barely budged. Inflation feels like an invisible predator, stalking my every dollar, devouring what little margin I had. I remember when I first moved into my apartment 2 years ago. I was optimistic. I had a job, a modest salary, and plans to save, to build a little cushion. But almost immediately, it felt like a game I couldn't win. The rent takes half my paycheck before I see it. Then there's food, transport, phone, internet, insurance. By the time the essentials are paid, there's maybe $100 left, and that has to last the rest of the month. This is where the trap tightens. I can't save for emergencies because I'm living paycheck to paycheck. And I can't get ahead because every month is a balancing act, juggling bills and trying not to miss payments. Late fees have become a part of my vocabulary, like a punishment for being human. I'm caught in a system where the costs keep rising and my income barely stays the same, like I'm stuck on a treadmill moving faster than I can run. Even the small, everyday choices feel heavy. Last week, I had to decide between filling my prescription or buying groceries. It's not a choice anyone should have to make. But here I was, calculating which was more urgent, which could be delayed. I opted to skip the meds, hoping it wouldn't worsen my health. These are the moments that chip away at your peace of mind. Social life has become a series of compromises and cancellations. Friends invite me out, and I want so badly to say yes, to laugh, to forget the stress for a night. But the price of a meal, a drink, or even just a ride home feels like a luxury I can't afford. I've missed birthdays, holidays, even simple coffee dates because I have to prioritize bills over bonding. Loneliness creeps in, not just from isolation but from feeling like I'm watching life move on without me. The emotional toll is constant. I carry a quiet worry with me everywhere, the kind that doesn't always show but lives in the pit of my stomach. Nights are the worst. When the world is quiet, my mind races with what-ifs and if-onlys. What if I had a better paying job? What if my parents could help? What if I hadn't taken on that student loan? These thoughts swirl and settle like a weight, making it hard to sleep or breathe freely. To cope, I've developed routines and small habits. Budgeting apps, meal prepping, clipping coupons, selling old clothes online, anything to stretch what I have. I've learned to say no without guilt, though it still stings. I've started journaling, because putting my worries on paper helps me feel less alone. And sometimes, I allow myself a moment to dream, even if those dreams feel distant. Speaking of dreams, I've had to postpone so many. Buying a home? Not even close. Traveling? A distant fantasy. Going back to school to advance my career? The cost feels impossible. I once wanted to start my own business, to create something meaningful, but that ambition has been shelved indefinitely. The weight of financial strain dims those hopes, makes them seem like luxuries rather than possibilities. Yet, even in this struggle, I hold on to a flicker of hope. I remind myself that this is a chapter, not the whole story. That resilience isn't about never falling but about standing up again. I try to focus on what I can control, learning new skills, seeking opportunities, leaning on the few people who understand without judgment. But mostly, I want people to know what it feels like. Not just the numbers or the deadlines, but the emotional exhaustion, the loneliness, the frustration. The feeling of being trapped in a system where your efforts feel invisible, and your dreams keep slipping just out of reach. It's real, and it's hard. For now, I take it day by day, trying to find moments of light in the shadows. Because even when the weight feels unbearable, the human spirit has a stubborn way of hoping, of reaching for something better, even when the path ahead is uncertain. And maybe one day, the world will shift enough to let me run forward instead of just trying not to fall behind. Until then, I'm here, doing my best to survive, and hoping to thrive. Some days, it feels like I'm swimming upstream, and no matter how hard I paddle, the current just drags me backward. That's the best way I can describe the ongoing financial pressure that's become the backdrop of my life. I'm 27 now, working full-time, but instead of feeling proud or secure, I'm exhausted, mentally, emotionally, and sometimes physically. Money, or the lack of it, has seeped into every part of my day, shaping the choices I make, the thoughts I have, and the dreams I quietly tuck away in the back of my mind. I remember when I first moved out of my parents' house. I thought independence would feel freeing, like I'd finally be in control. But it didn't take long for reality to sink in. Rent alone swallowed nearly half my paycheck. Utilities, groceries, transportation, and then the little things, streaming services, phone bills, a coffee here and there, they all piled up. And none of it felt optional. It was survival, one expense after another. My income barely edged ahead, but somehow the bills always managed to stretch further. The economic environment right now makes it all feel even worse. Prices climb steadily, groceries, gas, rent, everything seems to grow faster than my paycheck. It's like an invisible weight pressing on my chest every time I open my wallet. Last month, I hesitated for a full 10 minutes before buying a basic carton of eggs, running the numbers in my head over and over. That moment, that tiny, ordinary choice, crystallized everything: how deeply I feel trapped by a system where money feels like sand slipping through my fingers no matter how tightly I grasp. On bad days, I ask myself, is this all there is? Getting up, working long hours, watching the cost of living rise while my savings remain stagnant or shrink? There's a dull ache in my chest, not quite despair, but close. It's the frustration of knowing I'm doing everything I can, working extra shifts, cutting out luxuries, meal prepping, skipping social outings, but still never getting ahead. The horizon seems perpetually out of reach. I've had to postpone so many dreams. I wanted to travel, to explore new cities, to see the world beyond the four walls of my apartment. I wanted to save for a car, something reliable so I wouldn't have to rely on public transport that sometimes adds hours to my day. I wanted to go back to school, maybe get a certification or even a master's degree to improve my career prospects. But those dreams feel like luxuries now, distant and impractical. I tell myself they're just on hold, but some nights, I wonder if they'll ever come back at all. The pressure leaks into my relationships too. I don't want to be the person who says no all the time, but the truth is, I've become that person. When friends invite me out, I weigh the cost against rent and groceries. Sometimes I say yes, and then spend the next few days regretting it. Other times I just say no because I can't afford the mental and financial toll. It's lonely, and I miss the carefree connections I used to have. Emotionally, it's a roller coaster. I'm proud of how resilient I've become, but that pride is tinged with exhaustion and sometimes shame. There's this persistent fear of falling behind, of emergencies that could devastate me, a car breakdown, a health issue, an unexpected bill. I don't want to think about those possibilities, but they hover just beneath the surface. To cope, I've developed rituals. Budgeting has become almost obsessive. I track every cent, every dollar, in apps and spreadsheets. It gives me a small sense of control, even if it can't change the bigger picture. I find moments of peace in simple things: a walk in the park, a homemade meal, a book borrowed from the library. I remind myself to breathe and to acknowledge that surviving this is an accomplishment in itself. Sometimes, I allow myself to dream again, even if only briefly. I imagine a day when I don't have to calculate the cost of eggs or hesitate before filling my gas tank. I picture a life where my income grows faster than expenses, where I can save and invest, where I can take risks and embrace opportunities without fear. Those moments feel fragile but necessary. They remind me that I'm more than my financial struggles, that I have hope, even if it feels dim right now. Being trapped in this system, where expenses outpace income, where stability feels elusive, is a reality that shapes who I am today. It's hard, often isolating, and it demands a resilience I didn't know I had. But even in the midst of this pressure, I hold on to the belief that change is possible, that I can still carve out a path toward a better future. Until then, I'll keep paddling, even when the current feels overwhelming. I never thought I'd feel this way at 27, like I'm stuck in quicksand, sinking slower than I can move, but still drowning inch by inch. Every month feels like running a race where the finish line keeps moving further away. My paycheck arrives, and for a split second, there's relief. Then reality crashes back in: rent, bills, groceries, student loans, car insurance, phone bills, everything just piles up faster than I can pay. It's not just money. It's the weight of feeling trapped, of watching my hopes fade under the slow grind of an economy that seems rigged against people like me. Growing up, I had dreams, not outrageous ones, just hopes for a decent, stable life. I wanted to travel, maybe go back to school someday, save enough to get my own place, maybe even start a family someday. But now, those dreams feel like luxuries. I've had to shelve the idea of traveling because a weekend trip means scraping together money for gas and food, and even then, it feels selfish when I can barely cover the essentials. Going back to school? Forget it. Tuition hikes, student loans for my first degree, and the thought of borrowing more just paralyze me. Owning a home? That seems like a fantasy from another lifetime, some story other people get to live, but not me. It's exhausting, this constant pressure. Some days, I feel like I'm just surviving, barely making it from one paycheck to the next. The prices of everything keep rising, rent is higher every year, groceries are more expensive, utilities creep up. My income? It's almost the same as it was when I started this job 2 years ago. I ask myself, how is this fair? How am I supposed to save anything, build any security, when every month I'm just patching holes and putting out fires? I remember last winter, the heating bill was so high I almost had to choose between keeping the heat on or buying food. I ended up bundling up in every sweater I owned and eating ramen for a week. It felt humiliating. I'm not ashamed of being careful with money, but the way the system stretches people thin makes me feel invisible, like my struggles don't matter because I'm just managing. But managing isn't living. Managing is scraping by. I want to live. Emotionally, it's a roller coaster. I feel anxiety clawing at my chest most days, that gnawing worry about what if something goes wrong, a car breakdown, a medical bill, an unexpected expense. The last thing I need is another emergency. I avoid going out with friends because every dollar counts, but then loneliness creeps in. I try to smile and laugh like everything's fine, but inside, I'm stressed, tired, and sometimes hopeless. It's hard to open up about this with anyone. People assume if I have a steady job, I'm doing okay. They don't see the nights I lie awake calculating every cent, or the shame I feel for not being where I imagined I'd be at this age. Some days, I cope by distracting myself, binge-watching shows, scrolling endlessly on my phone, or diving into books that take me somewhere else for a little while. Those small escapes matter. They remind me there's more to life than the numbers in my bank account. But they're temporary, and the bills keep coming. I'm learning to be resourceful. I cook all my meals at home now, meal prep on Sundays so I'm not tempted by takeout. I've started using public transportation instead of driving, even if it means longer commutes. I've cut out gym memberships and instead do workouts at home or run outside. I'm constantly hunting for sales, coupons, any way to stretch a dollar. Sometimes it feels like a full-time job just figuring out how to afford living. There's also this quiet anger inside me, frustration with a system where wages don't keep pace with costs, where working full-time still feels like not enough. I think about those in power who make decisions that affect us all, and wonder if they even realize what it's like to feel powerless, trapped in a cycle with no clear way out. Sometimes I fantasize about just walking away, dropping everything and starting fresh somewhere cheaper or simpler, but responsibilities and fear of the unknown hold me back. Still, hope hasn't completely died. I remind myself that this is just a season, a hard, painful one, but maybe, just maybe, things can change. I've started setting tiny goals, like saving $20 a month, which feels small but somehow makes me feel a little more in control. I'm exploring side gigs, even if they don't pay much, just to build a cushion. And I keep dreaming quietly. In the back of my mind, there's still that version of me who travels, who owns a little place, who feels secure. The hardest part, I think, is not just the money itself, but the feeling of being invisible in this struggle. So many of us live like this, silently fighting the same fight. If anything, sharing this, being honest about it, is how I remind myself that I'm not alone, even when it feels like I am. At the end of the day, I'm still here. I'm still pushing forward, even when the system seems set up to hold me back. And maybe that's the real act of courage, to keep trying, to keep hoping, even when everything feels stacked against you. Thank you for watching until the end. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel so you won't miss new videos. Also, leave a comment, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Your support and engagement mean a lot to me. See you in the next video.